hands down, the most common question I get from you guys is, why isn't sign language the same everywhere? Well, if you travel to a different country and when you arrive, you meet a deaf person and you start throwing out some ASL with them, this is what's going to happen. They're not going to understand you, and you're probably going to get some weird looks as a result. This video is about why sign language is not universal and why it's really important not to assume that. So my favorite example of this is, now wait for it, it's going to blow your mind. American Sign Language is related to British Sign Language. Not. American Sign Language is actually related to French Sign Language, not British. What? The UK and the US may both use English, but their sign languages are completely different. If you don't believe me, check it out over there. So if you assumed that sign languages follow spoken languages, maybe hold out on that assumption because this is just the beginning. Maybe you're thinking, the US is up here, Mexico's down here, they're neighbors, so it's gotta have the same sign language, right? No, completely different. ASL is used all across the United States. But if you hop over the border, Mexico, that's where they use Mexican Sign Language, LSM. So maybe now you're thinking, oh, okay, I get it. One country equals one sign language. Not really. Most countries have a lot of different sign languages. For example, South Africa has 14. 14. 1-4, guys. So wait, hold. It gets even crazier than that. So spoken languages have accents and dialects, right? Sign languages have accents and dialects too. I always like to joke that when I'm signing, I have a really strong Texas drawl because I lived there for many, many years. So in Texas, you have, y'all, and that means you all, and it's a combination of the two, right? Y'all. Same concept in sign language. They have like brother and sister, each with two signs, but Texas, they just combine the two and say brother, sister. That's it. Super fast. So if you're sitting here thinking, before this video, I had no clue that sign language wasn't universal, and now my eyes are open and I see that there's sign languages all around the world, please subscribe. Help me out. I'm really, really trying to reach 20,000 subscribers this month, and I've been working towards it. So please help me out. Hit that subscribe button. So how does this happen? Spoken languages, over time, change and evolve. They morph through the years, right? Same with sign languages. They change and morph over time, and they divide into different sign languages. So you already know Latin. Latin is a language that spread throughout many countries and over the years became individual languages like Spanish, Romanian, Portuguese, Italian, right? So same idea with sign languages. Sign languages spread throughout the world, and over time they divide out, and that's why French Sign Language and ASL are similar. Kind of like Spanish and Portuguese are similar. You can understand each other a little bit. So typically the reason behind this is because of geographical difference, right? They're separated. But there's also a specific reason with sign languages, and that's deaf schools. Typically they have their own accents, their own preferences, and over generations, that becomes its own language. So maybe you're saying, Destiny, here in the United States, we only have ASL, right? No. Here in the United States, we have several. So ASL, Black ASL. We have Pro-Tactile, which is used by the deafblind community. It's a tactile language. And there's many Native American Sign Languages. For example, PISL, which is Plains Indian Sign Language. Now, at this point, people typically ask, wait, isn't there an international sign that anyone can use? Yes and no. So yes, they have an international sign. It's called Gestuno. And it's used in the World Federation of the Deaf for the Deaf Olympics. If two people happen to know Gestuno, they can use it. But it's not a full language. It's what's called a pidgin. So it's a concise way to communicate basic concepts. So that is called technically a working language, meaning if you have to communicate, sure, you can get concepts across, but it's not someone's innate native language. And honestly, most deaf people around the world do not know Gestuano. So it's not really a universal language then, right? Okay, so really quick before we end, if you're now feeling like super motivated to start learning sign languages and maybe even all of them, you can at InterSign University. And there is where deaf teachers from around the world teach you one-on-one their different sign languages. And you can start by using the code that I've added in the box below. It's a discount code. And honestly, it's really important to remember that learning a language is much more than vocab, right? Learning a language requires learning through the people who use it and through the culture that developed it. Learning both of those, that's how you learn a language. So honestly, the only way to do that is with a native signer or a native speaker. They're the ones that can teach you everything that's behind that language, such as their culture, the history, really the soul of the language can only be conveyed through a native signer. So if you want to learn a language, for example, Spanish, who's going to be your teacher? Well, a native speaker of Spanish from Chile or Mexico, right? That just makes sense. Same idea. With sign language, if you really, really want to learn it, it's through a deaf teacher. So the point of all of this is, imagine a world where people only spoke English or they only signed ASL. Okay, sure, it would maybe be efficient, but so boring. Our world needs diversity, and it needs specifically linguistic diversity. So that's why sign language is not universal and why it's never going to be.